Hey guys, welcome to this video. My name is John Watts. I'm a consumer protection lawyer, and I want to talk to you about the 5 categories that FICO, which is the dominant scoring model company. I think like 90% of all loans that use credit scoring, they use one of the FICO models. And I just want to give you kind of a brief overview of the 5 categories and what they mean. So first of all, it's the payment history. And then it's the amount of debt that you have or the utilization of your debt, particularly with revolving credit cards. And then the age of your debts. And then the number of inquiries. And then the mix of debt. So between credit card versus installment and things of that nature. So generally that first category, payment history, is about 35%. And all that means is just, are you late? Do you have 30-day late, 60 days late, 90 days late? Do you have charge-offs? What do you have? And so that is, you could just think of it, that's basically a third of your credit score. And so you want to have it as clean as possible. And if you have any late, so maybe you have a 30-day late or 60-day late, you want those to be as far back in time as you can get them so that imagine you and I are thinking about making a loan to somebody and they were 30 days late on their credit card 5 years ago. Well, I mean, they still were late, but we're not as concerned about that as if it was a month ago they were 30 days late. That sounds like, well, there's a more immediate problem. 5 years ago, not so much of a big deal. So that's what they look at. The second category is really your usage of credit or the amount of debt that you have compared to your credit limit. So this is typically about 30% or so. So if we have a $10,000 credit card and it has $2,000 worth of balance on it, then we have a 20% utilization. And we want to get that ideally as low as possible. You still want to use the cards, okay? I mean, just like even if you pay off all your credit card, just, once a month pay for gas or, Starbucks or something with just to show the credit card company you're using it and things of that nature. But that's about 30%. So when we are maxed out, then the scoring model says, this is kind of dangerous. And the whole point of the scoring model is to try to anticipate, try to predict how likely is it that I will default on this new mortgage loan or this new auto loan or this new credit card? And that's what the scoring model is all about. So if I am maxed out, they say, wow, something's wrong. Maybe he's living above his means. And so all that's accumulating in credit card debt. So if he gets an additional loan, he's going to be at risk of defaulting. Or if there's some turn down. I mean, this could never happen. Just imagine there's a global pandemic, right? There's something that happens where it interrupts my income. Well, if I'm completely maxed out on credit cards, I'm in more danger of failing than if I've got $10,000 available credit and I have $500 that's actually being used. So those are the first 2 categories, and that's about 2/3 of the factors. Typically that factor number 1 is 30%, the payment history, and then the usage is about 30% or so. And then we get to the age or the length of the debt. So they look at, well, how old are your debts? So let's say the average debt that you have is 20 years old. Well, that's pretty stable versus the average length is 2 months old, okay? Well, hey, this person's got a bunch of recent credit. Are they going to be a good risk, or is that a warning sign? And typically, it's more advantageous. Your score goes up the older your debt. Now, look, you can't change time, okay? But what it does mean is if you have a credit card, and don't let scoring be the sole model or sole factor in what you do. But let's say you have a 10-year-old credit card. You're like, maybe I'm going to close it. I don't really use it. Well, check with somebody, a mortgage broker, somebody that deals in scoring to say, will this hurt me? Because that might lower your score. I did a recent video about somebody that paid off early a student loan and their score just tanked. I forgot what it was, 30, 40, 50 point drop just by paying that off. Now we'll see that in the final factor, that's your mix of credit. But point is, sometimes we can do things, we say, well, hey, this ought to be better. I'm like getting rid of debt. Well, it may make our score go down because of the utilization, okay? But also because of the age. So that's, I don't know, 10 to 15%. These last three are about 10 or 15% each. And so number one is payment history. Number two, utilization of your credit card. Number three, the age of the debt. And then number four will be your inquiries. Now, there's two types of inquiries. There are soft inquiries, which do not affect your credit score. And then there are hard inquiries, which do affect your credit score. Although there are some rules about if you sort of bunch up a number of mortgage applications or auto loan pulls within a certain period of time, that typically only counts as one. But the hard inquiries do lower your score. And that's where you're typically applying for credit. So you go to the car dealership and you say, hey, see what I qualify for. You go to the mortgage broker, see what I qualify for. And that will typically bring your score down, not a whole lot, but a little bit. And again, the soft inquiries, those are sometimes called promotional inquiries, account reviews. Those do not have any effect on your score. And the theory is these hard inquiries, I mean, just imagine you're thinking about loaning somebody some money. You look at their credit report, and they have applied for 125 credit cards in the last 30 days. You're like, well, I'm not sure. Maybe they are really desperate. Maybe they know they're losing their job. Maybe there's some terrible events happening. They're just trying to grab all the credit they can. Maybe I don't want to loan them money. That's the theory behind it. Whether we agree or disagree with that, that's kind of the theory behind it. Now, the last factor is the mix of credit. And typically this means the mix between credit cards and installment loans. So what's an installment loan? That's a car loan. It's a house loan. It's a student loan where, it's a 5-year term. It's a 20-year term, a 30-year term. And you are to make these periodic installments, okay? And typically, FICO likes to see more of that than credit cards, or at least a mixture, okay? And so that's why in that video I did about the person paying off the student loan, at the time they didn't have a car loan, all their cars were paid for, they didn't have a house loan, no mortgage, just a student loan. That was the only installment, and paying that off just crashed their score because the model, it looks at the mixture, how much credit card versus how much installment. And so again, we may not agree with that. We may say, well, I think that's dumb, but this is FICO's whole business, okay? And again, they have different models. Are you applying for a credit card, applying for a car loan, applying for a home loan? Different models, but this is a good kind of framework to think about. So how's my payment history? Let me think about that. How about my utilization? In other words, am I maxed out on credit cards, or am I, I've got 95% available? How about the age of the debt? Is my typical debt, 10 years old, 20 years old, or is it 2 months old? How about inquiries? Am I going out applying for credit at all these different places? And then what's my mix of credit card versus installment loan? And how do those fit together? And that's what produces the score. So obviously there's like a black box that all this goes into, and they guard their formulas very carefully, but they do share with us these kind of percentages so that we can see your payment history is probably 3 times more important than your mix of credit or your inquiries, okay? But they all fit together to come up with your score. So I hope that that's helpful, and I'll talk to you guys soon. All right, bye-bye.